Welcome to Gemara Journey with Rashi. We are in Masechet Berachot in Daf Chet Amud Aleph. This is a new daf. Be'ezrat Hashem, B'Shem Hashem Naseh V'Natzliach. We are building off the topic that we started in Daf Zayin Amud Bed in the last class towards the end. And we already learned this case over here. Let's just read it and then we're going to build on that. My dichtiv. What is this? What's written in the verse? Va'ani tefilati lach Hashem et ratzon. Ematai et ratzon. When is it a favorable time before Hashem? B'sha'a she'atibur mitpalalim. At the time when the congregation is davening. We saw Rashi there. So we see yesh sha'a she'ish shel ratzon. We see that there is a time where it's a favorable time before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now we're going to build off that. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehacha. Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said, no, you could learn it from this verse, that when is it a favorable time before Hashem? That's when you are davening with a congregation. You could learn it from here. When it says in the Pasuk, Ko Amar Hashem, Be'et Ratzon Aniticham. If we go to Yeshaya, in Mem Tet, Pasuk Chet, if we look into the back of the book, in Sefer Mikraot, I have it on page Yud Bet. He says over here, Ko Amar Hashem, Be'et Ratzon Aniticha, Ubayom Yeshua, Azriticha, Ve'etzercha, Ve'etenecha Lebrit Am, La'akim Eretz La'anichil Nachalot Shomemot. So the commentary says, whenever it says in the pasuk over here, Ko Amar Hashem, Be'et Ratzon Aniticha, this is what Hashem said, Be'et Ratzon. When is it Et Ratzon? So the commentary says over here, Be'et Tefillah. So we see over here, when Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said, when is it a favorable time to daven before HaKadosh Baruch Hu? That's when you're davening with a congregation. I can learn it out from this pasuk, because it clearly says, Ko Amar Hashem Be'et Ratzon. When is it the Et Ratzon? So the commentary says, Be'et Tefillah. At the time when you're praying, from there we learn out that it's a favorable time before HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So let's just finish the commentary over here. So when we say over here, Ko Amar Hashem Be'et Ratzon Aniticha, this is what Hashem said. At a favorable time, I have answered you. So comes the commentary and he says like this, Be'et Tefillah, at the time of prayer, Sha'ata mitratzeh mitpayes lefanai, that you are looking to find favor and appeasement before me, you should know that is a favorable time before me, and you can daven, and what am I going to do for you? Aniticha, I will answer you. So we see, Rabotai, that's all we have to really see, but I'm going to conclude the whole verse. But we see from over here, that when is it a favorable time before Hashem? In the prayer. Ko Amar Hashem Be'et Ratzon Aniticha. This is what Hashem said. At a favorable time, which is when you were praying, meaning you wanted to find favor and appeasement before me, Aniticha, I have answered you. I have answered you. Now, continues the Gemara. The Gemara says, when it says over here, Ubiyom Yeshua Azreticha, what does this mean, Ubiyom Yeshua Azreticha? So the commentary says, at the day of salvation, Sheteh Tarich Lishua, that you're going to need the salvation, you should know, Azreticha, I will come and I will help you. Again, this has already nothing to do with the Gemara, I'm just reading the verse. Ve'etzarecha, what is this verse? What does this word ve'etzarecha mean? He says ve'eshmarecha, and I will guard you. Ve'etenecha librit am, and I will give you the covenant of the nation. So the commentary says over here, Lihiot am shibriti imcha, to be the nation that I made the covenant with you. Lahakim eretz lahanchil nachalot shomemot. What does that mean, lahakim eretz? So he says, to go ahead and establish the land, Eretz Yisrael ha-bechurali, the land of Israel which is chosen by me, mikol ha'arotzot. Hashem is saying that the Eretz Yisrael that's chosen by me from all the other lands, what am I going to do with it? Lahanchil. Ulahanchilach et hanechalot. I'm going to give you the heritage, I'm going to give you the inheritance of these lands, shehayu shemamod b'imei hagula, that they were desolate at the time of exile. So basically, what are we seeing from over here in the Yeshaya? Ko Amar Hashem Be'et Ratzon Aniticha. This is what Hashem said at the time of want, at the time of when it's a favorable time. When is that? Be'et tefillah, at the time of prayer. Aniticha, I will answer you. Ubiyom Yeshua, and also at the day that you're going to need the salvation. Azraticha, I will help you. Ve'etzercha, and I will protect you, and I will guard you. Ve'etenecha librit am, and I'm going to give the covenant with the nation of the Jewish people. Lahakim eres la'anchin nachalo shemamot, in order to establish the land which is beloved by me, which is the Eretz Israel, in order for you guys to inherit the other lands that were desolate. Okay, Rabotai, this is the passage, but we just wanted to see Ko Amar Hashem be'ed ratzon aniticha. So when we go back over here, when Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehacha, when Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina said from here, how do we know that at the time when you are praying, that is a favorable time? We know it from the verse Ko Amar Hashem be'ed ratzon aniticha. Comes another opinion, says no, you can learn it out from here. Rabbi Acha Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehacha. Rabbi Acha, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said from here, Hen el kabir velo ima'as. If we go to Iyov, in Perek Lamed Vav, in Pasuk Hey, here, it says like this: Hein el kabir, God is great, v'lo yimas, and He's not going to despise. Kabir koach lev, Hashem is great. He is great in the strength of heart. Now, what does that mean? So comes the commentary. He says, when we say over here, Hein el kabir, that Hashem is great, he says, Mirubehu b'chokhma u'berachmim. Hashem is great with wisdom and mercy, v'lo yima'es et ha'ani, and He's not going to despise the ani. He's not going to despise the poor person. When you see the word over here, when it says v'lo yima'es, that's what it means. He's not going to despise the person. Kabir koach lev, what does it mean that He is great in strength of heart? So He tells us over here, Kabir mirubehu b'koach lev leitnakem. Hashem is very great in the strength of the heart to take revenge. Therefore, the Rasha will not live. Again, Abotai, this is the verse, but if we go to Rashi now, we're going to see, how do we see from over here that a favorable time is the time of prayer? So he says, if we look into Rashi, he says, Kavir lo yim'as, right? That Hashem is great, and He's not going to despise. What is He not going to despise? Tefilat harabim lo yim'as. He's not going to despise the prayer of a community. So we see over here, but again, I'm doing with you the verses, but Rashi is translating it to mean that when it says here, Hen el kabir v'lo yimas, it is going on a community prayer. So before we do continue, what are we doing over here? All we're doing is we are proving the whole point that when a person is down with a congregation, it's a favorable time. According to one man, the Amr, according to one opinion, he says, I learned it out from David HaMelech when he says, V'aniti v'lati lach Hashem et ratzon. Another opinion said, which is Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Chanina, said, no, Ko amar Hashem be'et ratzon aniticha, like we saw. Another opinion says, Rabbi Acha Rabbi Chanina Amar, Mehacha from here, Hen el kabir v'lo yim'as. Hashem is a great God, and He's not going to despise, He's not going to hate. And Rashi explains to us, Tefilat harabim, the prayer of many, lo yim'as, He's not going to despise. So we see over here, Rabotai, when you daven with a community, it's a favorable time, and your prayer is accepted. Okay. Rabbi Acha Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehach. Rabbi Acha, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said from here, Hen el kabir v'lo yim'as. Fine. Uchtiv, and then it's written in the verse, Pada b'shalom nafshi, mikrav li ki birabim hayu imadi. Now, Rabotai, watch this. Another point, very important point, in Tehillim. If we go to Perik Nun Hey Pasuk Yud Tet. Perik Nun Hey Pasuk Yud Tet. He says, the commentary says over here, what does it mean, Pada B'Shalom? So basically, David HaMelech is saying when he would go out to war, Hashem, he redeemed him, meaning he brought him back from war in peace. He brought him complete. So he says over here, Me'olam Pada Hashem Nafshi Lahashivu B'Shalom. Hashem always redeemed my soul to return me back in peace. Again, this is going on war. Mikeravli, what does this mean, Mikeravli? So the commentary says, Hashem would redeem me from the war that would come on me. Why was he protected? Because he had many people with him. So the commentary says, because of the masses, that they were there for my aid, to pray for me. So again, Rabotai, we see from over here, when it says, Pada b'shalom nafshi, David HaMelech says, Hashem, you redeemed my soul, mikarav li, from the war that was coming against me, ki birabim hayu imadi, because of the many people that were with me, and we saw, read the commentary said, because many people down on his behalf. Let's see what Rashi says. Pada b'shalom, 1 second, okay. No. Okay, so that's it, Rabotai. Pada b'shalom, what? 1 second, 1 second, guys. This is not correct. 1 second. Just give me 1 second. That's not supposed to be there. Pada b'shalom. No. Right. Rabotai, this Rashi is not supposed to be here. I don't know why this Rashi is here. Let me just see something. Why is this like that? 1 second. Yeah. Okay. Okay, Rabotai, this is not good. Okay, fine. Let me see something. Okay. Guys, there is a mix-up over here. There is a very big mix-up over here. So let's do this. I'm going to have to just go back and forth with you guys. Let's just do this. Kabir lo yim'as, that was supposed, this Rashi belongs over here. We also were supposed to see this. Mikervli, milchamot ba'ot alai. That's what we saw in the commentary in the back. Right? So that's what we want to see. Shidpalalu imi. Over here Rashi wants to learn, not that they prayed on his behalf, not that they prayed on him, but rather that they prayed with him. Again, we are seeing over here a very fundamental concept that praying with the congregation is a favorable time before Hashem. It's an et raton. Now guys, we're going to come back to this. Let me do this. Wow. See, it's very important to always do it from the original font. You could never trust nobody. Not saying that this is bad, it's just, what am I supposed to do? Okay? Alright, so let's do this piece one more time. Okay, let's do this piece one more time. Because remember, Rabotai, look, I want to just show you something. Over here, with this Rashi, whenever you're doing the Gemara with the Rashi, so the Rashi, it goes ahead, it enumerates which one comes to where. Which one is before which one? But over here, I don't know how there's a mix-up over here. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's fine. We'll work with what we have. Now, so let's do this one more time. Rabbi Acha, Rabbi Chanina Amar Minhacha, Rabbi Acha, the son of Rabbi Chanina said from here, you could learn out from here that davening with a tzibur is an et raton. How do we know? Because the pasuk says, Hen el kabir v'lo yima'as. That Hashem is a great God and He's not going to despise. And the way Rashi wanted to explain, Tifilat Arabim lo yima'as, the prayer of the masses, Hashem is not going to despise. Then we saw, Uchtiv, and then it's written, Pada b'shalom nafshi mikerav li ki birabim hayumadi. David HaMelech said, Hashem redeemed my soul. He returned my soul in one piece. Mikerav li. Why? So Rashi, what does it mean, mikerav li? Mimilchamot abaot alai, from the wars that were coming on me, Hashem had redeemed me from it peacefully. Why did He redeem him peacefully? So we saw over here, Ki birabim hayu imadi, because many people were with him. So Rashi says over here, Ki birabim hayu imadi, because many people were with me. Shitpalalu imi, that they davened with me. Again, we're going back to that same concept and understanding that davening with a tzibur is a favorable time. Okay, that's it, Rabotai. Let's do this, so I don't have to come back and forth. Let's just do this right here. Let's do the Chazar from the beginning without explaining the verses, and then we're going to move to the next topic. I want to go little by little. Okay. My dichtiv, what does this verse mean that's written? Va'ani tefilati lach Hashem et ratzon. Emata et ratzon. When is it a favorable time before Hashem? B'sha'ah she'tzibur mitpalalim. At the time when the congregation is davening. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehach. Rabbi Yosef the son of Rabbi Chanina said from here, Ko amar Hashem be'et ratzon aniticha. We learn from over here that davening with the community is a favorable time. Rabbi Achav Rabbi Chanina Amar Mehacha. Rabbi Achav, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said from here, Hen el kabir v'lo yimas uchtiv pada b'shalom nafshi mikerav li ki berabim hayu imadi. Fine. Now we're continuing to another topic, but it still has to do with prayer. Tanya nami hach. It was also taught in the Baraita. Rabbi Natan says, Minayin she'en HaKadosh Baruch Hu mo'es b'tefilatan shel rabim. From where do we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, He does not despise the prayer of the masses? Shenemar, like it is stated, Hen el kabir v'lo yim'as, like we just saw. Uchtiv, and then it's written in the pasuk, Pada b'shalom nafshi mikarav li vegomer. Again, we saw these pasukim. Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Kol ha'osek b'Torah, anybody who toils in Torah, u'begimulut chasadim, and he toils in, meaning he goes out and he bestows kindness upon other people, u'mitpalel ima tzibur, and he davens with a congregation, he has to do all these three things. Ma'ale ani alav, I write on him, I give him the benefit, ki ilu pada'ani, as if he has redeemed me, li, me ulevanai, and my children, mi bein umot haolam, from amongst the nations of the world. So now we're going to have to go ahead and we're going to have to see over here, Rabotai, now this pada b'shalom nafshi mikarav li, this is going back on this Rashi that I highlighted right over here in yellow. When it says pada b'shalom, over here this makes more sense with that teaching. Why? Zeh she'asak b'divrei shalom. This person that he went ahead and he toiled in the words of peace. What does that mean? Dahainu, which means to say Torah. Torah is peace. Dichtiv, because it says in the verse, in Mishlei, V'chol nitivotecha shalom, because all the paths of Hashem are peace. Meaning all the ways of Torah are peaceful. V'chen gimulut chasedim nami shalom. So we see from over here that Torah can be called shalom. Gimulut chasedim is also shalom. It's also peace. Why? So he says, because when a person is bestowing kindness, biguful lechavir, with his own body for his friend, the other guy realizes that he's beloved, that he's beloved by somebody else. They're going to come for friendship and peace. So we see from over here that anybody who toils in shalom, which is words of Torah, and gimulut chasadim, which is also called shalom, you should know from over here, pada b'shalom. That's what the pasuk says. That's what we said over here. Pada b'shalom nafshi mikerav li. From here we could learn out that Hashem says, anybody who deals with shalom, which is Torah, or shalom, which is gimulut chasadim, and like the other opinion we saw also when it said b'shalom, over here on top, right, when David HaMelech said, Pada b'shalom, nafshi b'kerev li ki berabim hayu imadi, that Hashem redeemed him in peace. But what do we see over here? Because the masses, they prayed with him. So we see over here, Rabotai, shalom can be, it can be attributed to Torah, Gimilut Chasadim, and Tefillah. So that's what he says over here. Amar Kadosh Baruch Hu kol haosek b'Torah u'b'gimilut chasadim u'mitpalel l'matzibur, because the word shalom falls on each one. Ma'aleh ani alav, I accredit to him, ki ilu pada'ani, as if he has redeemed me, li u'lebanai, me and my children, mi bein umot olam, amongst the nations of the world. Fine. So let's just see this teaching. It was also taught in the Braita. Rabbi Natan said, from where do we know that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he's not disgusted with the prayer of the masses? Because the pasuk says, Hen el kabir v'lo yima'es. That's what we saw clearly. Hashem is a great God and he does not despise the prayer of the multitude. Uchtiv, and then it's written, Pada b'shalom navshi mikerev li v'gomer. What we saw with David HaMelech. What does it mean, b'shalom, and what is it doing next to the word pada? So he says, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Hashem said, Kol haosek b'Torah, which is shalom, u'b'gimilut chasadim, which can also bring a person to shalom, u'mitpalel im hatzibur, which also brought David HaMelech to peace because people prayed on his behalf. Malani alav ki ilu pada'ani, I accredit to him, I write on him, as if he had redeemed me, li ulibanai mi bein umot olam, me and my children from amongst the nations of the world. So we see, Rabotai, how important it is to toil in Torah, do gimilut chasadim, and pray with the congregation, and in that way we are redeeming HaKadosh Baruch Hu from amongst the nations. You know, the interesting thing is, we always want to help. Rabotai, you know, B'lei Ein Har, Baruch Hashem, I always tell people, you want to help? Start first helping yourself. How do you help yourself? Learning Torah. You want to do Gimilut Chasadim? Do the chesed for yourself. Sit and learn Torah. You want to be able to go ahead and redeem HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Daven with a congregation. Do mitzvot, Rabotai. By us acting in the proper way, we're able to redeem HaKadosh Baruch Hu and ourselves from amongst the nations of the world. They're not going to be able to rule over us. But Rabotai, you know, unfortunately, that there's a lot of, you know, other things that are in our life. I forgot who it was. I think it was, I don't know if it was Rab. I don't know if I think it was the Stipler. I believe it was the Stipler. I don't know if it was Rabbi Yisrael Salanter. I think it was the Stipler. Rabbi Yaakov Yisrael Kanievsky, the father of Rav Chaim Kanievsky. I believe it was him, if I'm not misquoting him, I believe it was him, but it was one of the Gedolim. I think it was him. I learned it many, many years ago, at least 15, 20 years ago, at least. He said a statement, which if you really delve into what he's saying, it is so true. He said like this, if there's anything else that is fighting for your attention, there's no way you're going to become a real Ben Torah. It's impossible. You cannot become a real Ben Torah if you have other things that are fighting for your attention. If your mind is on anything else but Torah and mitzvot and Hashem, to say you're going to become, is to say you're a Jew. Okay, fine. But to say that you're going to be a real Ben Torah, that, Rabotai, is a very, very high level. I'm just trying to tell you, you know, we want to do the right thing. So here we go. Learn Torah, do chesed with other people, but don't forget yourself. How do you do chesed with yourself? By doing the right things, by making the right decisions, and davening with a congregation. A lot of people, Rabotai, they don't daven with communities. Many people, they do not daven. Shacharit, Mincha, sometimes Mincha they don't daven. Shacharit, okay, they'll daven because it's before work. Mincha, sometimes it's not in their, you know, not in their schedule. Arevit, forget about it because they're tired. And Rabotai, it's very important. Kol haosek b'Torah u'b'gimilut chasadim u'mitpalel im hatzibur. Anybody who toils in Torah, not learns Torah, stam, toils in Torah and does, and he bestows kindness, u'mitpalel im hatzibur, and he prays with a congregation. Ma'aleh ani alav ki ilu padani. I accredit to him. I give him that credit as if he has redeemed me. Li ulebanai mi bein umot olam. Me and my children from amongst the nations of the world. By the way, this page, Daf Chet Amud Aleph, remember this daf? It's a very packed, jam daf with a lot of great Torah. All Torah is great. But by me, everything Rabotai. Anyway, Amar Reish Lakish, new piece. Amar Reish Lakish said, Kol mi sheyesh lo beit hakeneset bi'iro. Anybody who has a synagogue in his city, ve'eno nichnas sham, and he doesn't enter there, lid palal, to pray, nikra shachein ra, he's called an evil neighbor. Shenimar, like the pasuk says in Yirmiyahu, Ko amar Hashem al kol shechanai hara'im, hanogim benachala asher hinchalti et ami et Yisrael. If we're going to go to Yirmiyahu in Yud Bet, pasuk Yud Dalet, here, he says, the commentary says over here, who are the Shechenim Hara'im? Who are the evil neighbors? He says the Mitzrim, Ammon, Moav, Vitzur, Vitzidon, all these nations. Shahayu Shechanei Eretz Yisrael, that they used to be the neighbors of the land of Israel. Umazikin Otam, and they would damage them. They would always give us problems. So what does it say over here? Ko amar Hashem al kol shechanai hara'im. Hashem said this on all the evil neighbors. Hanogaim benachala asher hinachalti et ami et Yisrael, that touch the inheritance which I inherited to my nation, the Jewish people. So he says over here, Rabotai, what does it mean? Hineni not sham me'al admatam. What does it mean, not sham? So the commentary says over here, akor otam me'admatam lalechet bagula. I'm going to uproot these nations, the Mitzrim, the Ammon, Moav, Tzur, Vitzidon. I'm going to uproot them from their own land, lalechet bagula, to go into exile. Ve'et bet Yehuda, right? And we saw ve'et bet Yehuda et shom mitocham. Same concept. And bet the house of Yehuda, I'm going to uproot from amongst the other nations. Ve'gam bet Yehuda akor mitocham. And so to the house of Yehuda, I'm going to uproot from amongst Mitzriim and the Ammon and Moav and Tzur and Tzidon. Now, Rabotai, this is the verse. But over here, I want to show you something over here. There's only one Rashi. He says when it says Hineni notsham me'al admatam. Over there we show who is going on. But where Rashi wants to go, it's going on a person who doesn't enter into the synagogue to pray, the one that's in the city. So all Rashi says over here that Seifa Dikrahu, that this is in the end of the verse. Right? Hineni notsham me'al admatam. Let me see something. When we read over here, Ko amar Hashem al kol shechanai hara'im hanugeim benachala asher hinchalti et ami et Yisrael. So he tells you, Rashi tells you, Hineni notsham me'al admatam. That's the end of the verse from here. Let me show you, Rabotai. See over here it says, Hineni notsham me'al admatam. He says you should know that this is the end of the verse of Yirmiyahu. Watch. Right over here. Hineni notsham me'al admatam. Right over here. That's all Rashi is telling us, okay? I can't make it, okay. I cannot color it, fine. Let's continue. So let's go back over here. Now, understand, over here we're speaking about the other nations that Hashem is going to uproot them. But Rashi and the Gemara want to explain to us over here that anybody who does not daven in a synagogue that's in his city, he's called an evil neighbor, and Kadosh Baruch Hu is going to uproot him from that place. Now, there's many laws, since we have different Beit HaKnesset today. Even if you pass one, but you go into another one, it's not a problem. Again, there's different halachot to this, but if we're speaking about if you have one Beit Knesset in the city and you don't come and daven there, this is going on that type of person. Amar Reish Lakish said, Kol mi sheyesh lo Beit Knesset be'iro. Anybody who has a synagogue in his city, ve'eno nichnas sham litpalal, and he doesn't enter there to pray, nikra shachein ra, he's called an evil neighbor. Shenimar, like it is stated in the verse, Ko amar Hashem, this is what Hashem said, Al kol shechanai hara'im, on all the evil neighbors, which like we saw, hanogeim benachala, that touch the inheritance, asher nechalti et ami et Yisrael, that I have inherited my nation, my Jewish people. Velo od, and furthermore, now Rabotai, listen to this very carefully. So number one, if a person does not enter to the Beit HaKnesset in a city, he's called an evil neighbor. That's one. Velo, and furthermore, he says, V'lo od eila, and furthermore, shegorem galut lo ulebanav. Rabotai, listen to this carefully. He causes exile for himself and for his children. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, hineni. So you see this word hineni? Notsham me'al admatam. I'm going to uproot you from amongst your land. Ve'ed beit Yehuda et shom mitocham. And the house of Yehuda I'm going to uproot from amongst them. But Rabotai, what do we see over here? That this is really going on an evil neighbor that doesn't walk into the synagogue to daven. So if you have one synagogue in the community and you don't enter to daven there, you're called an evil neighbor. And not only that, you cause exile to yourself and to your children. And we learn it out from where? From the verse where it says Hashem is going to uproot, He's going to uproot them from their land. Okay. Oh, before we get to number 6, let's just do this one more time. Somebody asked me a question. Rabbi, how do you do it? Meaning, I just wanted to show you something. Like, they want to, Be'emet, people really want to learn Torah and they just can't do it. And I'll tell you why I'm explaining to you now. Somebody came up to me when I was teaching in the morning, right before Nets, we learned, and then also after Nets, whatever. So after the class, somebody came up to me and he says, Rabbi, how do you do it? So I told him there's no secrets. There's no secrets. He says, do you sleep a little bit? Do you eat a little bit? There's no secrets when it comes to learn Torah. All you gotta do is sit down and apply yourself. Just sit down and do it. Don't think about anything else. Just sit and do it. Doesn't matter how long it's gonna take you, just do it. So he told me, he's like, yeah, but I tried, but it's hard. So you know what I told him? I told him, how many times do you review it before you continue? He says, that is my number one enemy. To go back and review, I'm not going to do. So that's why you're not enjoying the learning. Before you continue to the next line, to the next piece, review it. Again, I'm not going to do it with you guys four times, but the minimum you should do it is 4 times. Again, Rabotai, I already did this. This piece that I'm doing with you now, it took me about 4 hours, 3 to 4 hours. I started at 11 o'clock, and I started this class around 2:45. So it took me about 3 to 4 hours just to prepare this one Amud. I was going back and forth, looking up this, looking at the verse in the back. So it does take time, and nothing is easy. I just want to show you that it's doable. So when we're going back, remember, Rabotai, once you understand the concept, we go back and to have it clear without going back and forth. It's very important, Rabotai. Chazara is key to learning Torah. When you review and review and review, you're going to start to love it. The more you give to your children, the more you do for your wife, the more you come to love them. And this is the emes with Torah also. The more you give to Torah of yourself, the more you're going to come to learn Torah. The more you're going to come to love Torah. The more you're going to come to do everything for the Torah. But you got to come back to that same piece. It's not only just moving forward. Moving forward is not a problem. By the way, there's a sefer that's called, I believe, Shavu Yipol Tzadik. It says over there that the Yetzer Hara is so smart. He tells you continue learning, don't go back. But that, Rabotai, that's where we fall. It says that when a person is going to come to the next world, it says over there that Talmud biyodo, that the Talmud that he's teaching, that he's learning, has to be in his hand. He has to know it good. You can't know it good from one time. Even by listening like this, you can know it. I hope you're writing, taking notes, highlighting, re-listening, re-saying it yourself. That you can't just learn in one shot, Rabotai. Yeah, the idea, the concept is there. But if you really want to love Torah, you got to go ahead and chazer it. That's why, Rabotai, we just go back just to make sure we get the piece. Amar Reish Lakish said, Kol mi sheyesh lo beit hakeres be'iro, anybody who has a synagogue in his city, ve'eno nichnas sham, and he doesn't enter there, litpalal to pray, nikra shachen ra. Point number one, he's called an evil neighbor. Sherma, like the pasuk says, over here, Rabotai, now I'm not going to explain the verse because we already know it. Ko amar Hashem al kol shechanah hara'im hanugeim b'nachala shehin nachalti et ami et Yisrael, Velo od eila, and furthermore, shegorem galut lo ulbanav. Number 2, that he causes exile to himself and for his children. Sherimah, like the pasuk says, Hineni not sham me'al admatam ve'ed beit Yehuda etosh metocham. Next piece, Rabotai. Wow, listen to this. Amru leil Rabbi Yochanan. They said to Rabbi Yochanan, Rabotai, listen to this piece. How important this piece is. I see people, they come into shul But I'll give them the benefit that maybe they're tired, learning Torah till 3 and 4 in the morning, which is not the case. But let's say that's what it is. When I see people walking to shul late in the morning, and at night they're not staying to learn later, that's a very big problem. I will show you why. Amru leila Rabbi Yochanan. They said to Rabbi Yochanan, "Ika sabei b'Bavel." If you see over here, it's like a state, they said to him that there's elders in Bavel. It's like a amazement. Tama v'amar. He was shocked and he said, "Doesn't make sense." What they said to Rabbi Yochanan that there are elderly people in Bavel. Tama v'amar. Rabbi Yochanan was amazed and he said, "Doesn't make sense." It says in the verse, "Lema'an yirbu yimechem v'mei benechem al ha'adama." If we go to the verse, it says over there, "Lema'an yirbu yimechem," in order for your days to increase, v'mei benechem, and also the days of your children, al ha'adama, on the ground, asher nishba Hashem la'avotechem, which Hashem swore to your forefathers, latet lahem, to give them, kimei hashamayim ha'aretz, like the heavens on the earth. What did Hashem promise the Jewish people, our forefathers? What did Hashem swear to them? That He's going to give them Eretz Yisrael. Where can you have long life? In Eretz Yisrael. So comes Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan says that doesn't make sense. The pasuk says, "Lema'an yirbu yimechem v'mei benechem al ha'adam asher nishba Hashem la'avotechem," that we should have long life, long days, and the children also should have long life, long days on the ground, which is Eretz Yisrael, that Hashem promised or swore to our forefathers. So Rabbi Yochanan says, I don't understand. How could it be that you have elderly people in Bavel that are still, well beyond old age? He says over here, Kitiv, right? So let's do this together. Let's do this one more time. Amru leile Rabbi Yochanan, they said to Rabbi Yochanan, Ika sabe Bavel. Like a question. There are elderly people in Bavel. There are aged people in Bavel. Tama v'amar, he was surprised and he said, doesn't make sense. It says in the Torah, Lema'an yirbu yimechem v'mei benechem al ha'adama kitiv, that they should have long life on the soil of Eretz Yisrael. Aval bechus la'aretz lo, but in the land of Israel, no, you're not supposed to have long life. So watch this, Rabotai. Here we go. Kevin de Amrile, since they said to him this next statement, Mikadimi or Mechashchi lebei kenishta, they come early and they leave late in the synagogue. They come early to the synagogue and they leave late the synagogue. Amar, then Rabbi Yochanan said, now I understand why they have long life. Ha'enu de anehani lehu. This is what helps them. Rabotai, coming to shul early, staying in shul late, gives you arichut yamim, arichut shanim. Gives you long life. Can you imagine coming early to shul and leaving late instead of coming home at 8 o'clock, you come home at 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, big deal. Come home later is going to give you arichut yamim, arichut shanim, Rabotai. Not only you, your wife, your children, because when you learn Torah, you help them, you help the whole world. Can you imagine, Rabotai, coming? But what do? We go, we learn, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it might be an hour, and we run away. Why? What's the rush? What's the rush? What are you going to do home 9:30? Watch TV? What are you going to do home 9:30? Argue with your wife. What are you going to do 9:30 at home? What? And also in the morning, why we're sleeping late? Why? Can somebody give me one good reason why we're always sleeping in? Why? I asked today somebody, he comes to my class, he comes to the class. Today he didn't show up. So I told him what happened. So I felt like sleeping in. What does that mean? You felt like sleeping in? You have an obligation to God to wake up in the morning, to pray, to learn Torah. What does that mean? You felt like sleeping in. What do you mean you felt like? Anyway, Rabotai, but this is it here. You want long life. People want, all the sugulot, shmigulot. Here, Rabotai, here, look what the Gemara says. Not my words. Not my words. Let's see what Rashi says. Mikadmi, shacharit, they come early in the morning. Mechashchi in Aravit, they stay late at Aravit, meaning towards the evening. Koloimar, meaning to say, me'arichin be'beit HaKnesset. They lengthen their stay in the Beit HaKnesset. Rabotai, I can't emphasize this enough. Amru leil Rabbi Yochanan, ikasabe beBavel, they're aged people in Bavel. Time of Amar, he was like, wow, how can that be? It's going against the Torah. Can't be. They're outside the land of Israel. They cannot have a long life. Kevin the Amrili, since they said to Rabbi Yochanan, how would Rashi say? That they would come early in the morning to the synagogue and they would stay late at night in the synagogue. Amar, then Rabbi Yochanan said, Baruch Hashem, this is not a contradiction. That these things that are helping them have long life. Rabotai, you want to have long life? Here's the secret. Your wife doesn't want you to go learn Torah. She doesn't want you to leave the bed early in the morning because she wants you to be there. Rabotai is going to give you long life. Chas v'shalom, Rabotai, lolin, nobody should know. Can you imagine a person hospitalized in a bed? He's not next to his wife. Can you imagine a person that is imprisoned in prison? He's not next to his wife. That she can understand. Do you want Hashem chas v'shalom to put us lolenu, God forbid, in these states chas v'shalom? No. So get up and go. What's going to happen if you're going to learn before davening? What's going to happen if you're going to stay later at night? So your class finished at 9:30, 10 o'clock, I don't care. Stay longer a little bit. Make sure you're the last from the last that are coming out, not the first from the last. Beautiful piece. Very, very beautiful piece. Like Rabbi Yeshua the son of Levi said to his children. Rabbi Yeshua the son of Levi said to his children, Kadimu, Rabotai Tanaim. It's not normal. Amoraim, we speak about great rabbis. It is not a normal. This is the advice that they would give their children. What advice we give our children? Huh? What advice we give our children? Here, look what he said to them. Kadimu v'chashichu va'aylu libei kenishta. Go early, stay late, go into the synagogue. Why? For what? Ki heichi detorechu chaye, in order for your lives to be prolonged. That's what he said. That's what he said. Rabbi Shua ben Levi said to his children, wake up early, stay late, enter into the base measures in order for you guys to have a long life. That's it. This is the advice that parents should be giving to their children, and not everything else. Amar Rabbi Chanina, the son of Rabbi Chanina said, Maikra, what is the verse for this proof that shows us anybody who comes early and stays late, that he's guaranteed long life? Where is this written? He said, the pasuk says in Mishlei in Perikhet pasuk Amud, Ashrei Adam Shomei li lishkot al delotota yom yom lishmor mizuzot petachai uchtibatrei ki motzei matzachai. Abotai, verses. Let's go see these verses together. We're going to see these two verses, okay? This one, Ash Adam, and then we see Ki Motzei, right? Matzachaim, V'fek Ratzon Mi Hashem. Let's see this. Let's see this verse. Mishlei. Okay. He says like this. When we say over here, Asher Adam Shemei, praiseworthy is the person that listens to me. Lishkod al deltotai yom yom. What does it mean, Lishkod al deltotai yom yom? So the commentary over here says, Lishmor, to guard, to watch my doors every single day, meaning to be there in the synagogue. V'yesh mefarshim, there are other rabbis who want to learn, Lashon mihiru, they want to learn, when it says over here, Lishkod al deltotai yom yom, this is an expression, a language of an expression of being quick. Meaning he says, Ashri Adam Shumei, praiseworthy is the person that listens to me, Lishkot al dototai yom yom, to run to the doors of my house every single day, Lishmor mizuzot petachai, to guard the doorpost of the entrance. He says over here, what does it mean? Li, what does it mean to me? What do you mean? Ashri Adam Shumei. So in Mishnah it says over here, La Torah. Praiseworthy is the person that, according to one understanding, if we're going to learn the word lishkod means to watch, versus lishkod means to be quick, so I could learn like this. Ashre Adam Shumei li lishkod al dota yom yom. Praiseworthy is the person that watches the Torah, that he guards the Torah. He fulfills what's written in the Torah every single day. Or praiseworthy is the person that is quick to run to the Torah. Rabotai, look how beautiful this is. Al dototai, what does it mean, right? That you're going to run to my doors? Likanesh rishon libeis hamedrash, to enter the first one to the synagogue, to the study hall. Ulebet haKnesset, enter the synagogue. V'letzet acharon, and to come out last. Rabotai, ashre adam shomei li lishkod al dototai yom yom lishmor mizuzot petachai. Comes Proverbs, and it says over here, praiseworthy is the person that listens to my Torah, to guard my Torah, or to run to my Torah, meaning to run to the Beis Medrash, to run to the synagogue, to be the first ones in. I said to you before, you should be the last from the last ones coming out. I'm wrong, because over here he says just the opposite. Over here he says, Likanes rishon lebeit hamidrash ulebeit haKnesset v'latzet acharon. Over here he says just the opposite. You should be the first one in the Beit Knesset and the Beis Medrash, and you should be the last one out. I'll take that back. I retract. That's it. Chozer, I can't say it. I can't go against the Torah Chas v'Shalom. Clearly says over here. Rabotai, look how this is not normal. Look at this. So now, also 1 second. So we see over here that being the first and being the last in shul, what is it going to give you? Let's continue to the next pasuk. It said, Ki motzei, because those that find me. The pasuk says, Ki motzei, those that find me, Hashem says, Matzah chayim, he's going to find life, vayifek ratzon Hashem, and he's going to obtain favor from Hashem. He says over here, vayifek umotzi ratzon Hashem, he's able to find favor from Hashem. Ratzon l'omar, he wants to say, Hashem yem mirutzelo, Hashem will be pleased with you. Rabotai, what does it mean Hashem is going to be pleased with you? Hashem is going to give you long life. Ki motzei, anybody who found me, anybody who found Torah, Matzah Chaim, he's going to find life, he's going to have long life. Rabotai, this is a Gemara. If you don't do it, Rabotai, I don't want to say you're shortening your life. Well, that's what the halakha says actually. In your day, actually it does say that. If a person is able to increase from Tet to Be'av and on, if he's able to increase the learning Torah at night and he does, then Hashem is going to shorten his life. Over there, that's what it says. But I'm just trying to tell you, if you're not coming the first one and you're not leaving the last one, we got a problem, Rabotai. What, are we going against the words of Chazal? Are we going against the words of the Chazal? Might this be a midat chassidut? I don't care what this is. But if I'm able to do it and get long life, why not do it? Guys, what is there to do at home? Can you tell me? Unless you have a sifri, unless you have a library in your house when you're going to come learn and your wife is not going to bother you and your children are not going to bother you, I understand. But if you come home and TV and wife and children and you're ill and everything is... Stay in the synagogue. I had a guest over Shabbat. And I showed him, I brought him down to my room, to the basement, to the Beis Medrash over here. And he's like to me, so this is where you do everything? I say, yeah, Baruch Hashem. He's like, why don't you do it? Whatever. I said, teaching is in the house of Torah, but recording is done in my Beis Medrash. I need to have quiet. Can't have any interruptions. I don't want people walking in every second, here and there, whatever it was. So you know what he told me? He says, I can never ever learn at home. I can't. He said, I can't. It's impossible. What do? He says, I get up and I go to the Beis Medrash. I go to the study hall. Before Aravit. Aravit is 9:30, he comes 8:30. He comes 8:30 and he sits. He sits, that's it. And then he starts learning, and then he does Aravit, and then he leaves. He says, it's amazing that when I come to the synagogue, somehow I have the strength to learn Torah. But when I'm home, even if I want to, I can't do it. So really, I didn't want to tell him, but really the secret is you have to make a makom for yourself. You have to really make a place for yourself. Of course, it's always better to learn in the synagogue. I'm not going to tell you no. But it's not to say that you're exempt from learning Torah at home. If you make yourself one place where you learn, it's like you're making your one place when you daven. Every single day you're building a brick on top of a brick. But if every day in the house you're moving from one place, yeah, it's going to be harder to learn. You want to make that place kadosh. I used to live in an apartment. I used to have a corner in the house where I told my wife, I need one corner in the house, something, I don't want a lot. All my books were inside the closet. But the ones that I need to use, I needed one corner. You take one corner in the house, I don't care where it's going to be. Take one corner in the house, start learning there, and you'll see you're going to have a pull to want to go there. It's going to pull you to want to learn. Okay. So let's go back over here, Rabotai. This is beautiful. Kida Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi lebini, like Rabbi Shua, the son of Levi, said to his children, Kadimu v'chashichu va'yalu lebeknishtu. Get up early, stay late, enter into the study hall, to the synagogue, ki heichi deterechu chaye, in order for you guys to have long life. This is what we're supposed to be teaching our children. Amar Rabbi Acha beRabbi Chanina. Rabbi Acha, the son of Rabbi Chanina, said, Mikra, what is the verse that proves that this is a fact, that anybody who comes early, stays late, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give him long life? Ashrei Adam Shomei li lishkot al dototai yom yom lishmor mizuzot patachai, like we just explained it. And right after this, which means you should come in early, stay late, and uchtiv bataren, written right after that, ki motzei matzah chaim. Those people that found me, meaning found Torah, found life. So we see from over here, a person can get a long life for coming early and staying late in shul.